I am going to, hello everyone.
Oh,
Hello, Margaret is here. We are letting lots of her supporters and her family and people who love your work. I'm going to be spotlighted. Welcome. Welcome, Margaret. Everybody put their hands up like this if they can see Margaret. And we're just going to welcome you here. And we're going to do a little award ceremony. We have everyone on the call now that's coming in. Hold on one second, and I'm going to spotlight back. Okay. I think I want to hold. I want to view everybody as a gallery. Okay. People are trying to call me. Okay. Well, Margaret, we're so happy to have you on this call. I love seeing all these faces that I don't recognize at all, but it's so beautiful. And I'm so glad we were all able to be on this call. But I just want to say hello, everyone, and thank you for attending this amazing celebration honoring Margaret Owen. This award is being presented by Modern Widows Club. It's a US-based nonprofit whose mission is to focus on empowering widows to thrive through our programs, our Widow Leadership Development Program, our Benevolent Fund, our podcast, our blogs, our social media, and all of our widow empowerment events here in the US. On this call, there are several Modern Widows Club HQ representatives for this ceremony. So I'd like to point them out. First of all, I am Carolyn Moor. I'm the founder of Modern Widows Club, and I'm also the development director. And Gina Strasser is on the call, and she is our executive director. Raise your hands, Gina, so everybody knows who you are. And then Jen Johnson is our Modern Widows Club board secretary. So we've got a board member and headquarters, and we also have, hands up, Jen. We also have many Modern Widows Club leaders actually and supporters. If you guys are a Modern Widows Club leader or supporter, put your hands up so people can see who you are. And
congratulations, Margaret.
Excuse me?
I just said congratulations, Margaret. You're amazing.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we have so many supporters here from Margaret, and I hope that after this short little ceremony that we do, that you'll take the time to say something kind and special to Margaret, because we're recording this for her as part of her gift. We're going to send her an award, and we have another small gift and this recording so that she can remember it. So our MWC Legacy Award is given to one very special person annually who goes above and beyond in serving to empower widows and their families around the world. They are the highest of excellence who possess the highest levels of virtue, nobility, humbleness, compassion, fortitude, and they are just really the epitome of heroic leadership. Yes, this is you, Margaret. Your decades of work towards protecting the most vulnerable, voiceless people around the world was already audacious. And then you decided to help widows. Not only help them, but to empower them, to give them a voice, and to help them find peace. That is no easy feat. And today, Margaret, I want you to know that I had no idea that when I called you the other day, after 3 attempts, that it would be on the day that your sweet Robert had passed away. God's timing was impeccable. That was a day that you were honoring him. You were lighting a candle. You showed it to me. And I was so honored to share that moment with you. God's timing truly was in the works here. And because of Robert and your experience in widowhood, you took all of that and you used it as fuel for a new passion to raise awareness for widows in conflict and in AIDS-afflicted areas around the world. You founded the first international organization to address human rights issues in the context of widowhood, called Widows for Peace Through Democracy. You also are the founding member of GAPS UK, the Gender Action for Peace and Security. You are a regular participant at the UN Commission on the Status of Women, and you consult with the UN on issues of widowhood. And the work that you do, your life's work, has truly made this world a better place, and it is so important. When I first met Margaret, when I first learned of Margaret a few years ago, I was studying other legendary widows. And so I want to share a couple of those quotes with you of the other legendary widows. Eleanor Roosevelt, one of our US First Ladies, she said, "We must look at hard things truthfully." And Margaret, you have certainly done that in every way. Another amazing widow legend was Martin Luther King Jr.'s widow, Coretta Scott King. And she said, "Women, if the soul of the nation is to be saved, I believe that you must become its soul." Margaret, you certainly have become the soul of this issue. Helena Lapata, which you may not be familiar with her, she's a sociology professor who wrote this book right here, Current Widowhood, Myths and Realities, in 1997. And her first sentence in this book was, "Studying widowhood is not easy." And Margaret certainly knows this, but she kept fighting for the rights of widows, regardless of the challenges that came before her. But what struck most to me is what Margaret said. There is no peace in the world until widows find peace. And you know what? Margaret is right. I am honored to stand behind you. My whole organization is honored to stand behind you. We are indebted to the work, the doors that you have knocked down, the avenues that you have blazed a trail in. They are noticed and they are appreciated, and they are really everything to us. All the widow advocates that have come after you are just indebted to you. So I am personally in awe to know you, and I admire your work. I look forward to getting to know you better. I am particularly honored today and thankful to give you this honorable and well-deserved recognition, our Modern Widows Club 2020 Legacy Award winner. You are our hero.
Go, Margaret.
Margaret, Jen Johnson will show you a photo of what your award looks like. Let me show you. Can you see her here?
Yeah.
Let me see if we can, I'll spotlight her so you can see it.
Oh, oh,
We can't see that it's a globe. There you go. See that it's a globe?
absolutely lovely. Wonderful. Thank you.
So we'll be sending you this award, and I want to add you as a spotlight. And we'll also be giving you this beautiful pen.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yes.
Will I ever go out? Will we ever lockdown? I shall wear it. I shall wear it even if I'm absolutely alone. It's absolutely lovely. Wonderful.
Yeah. This is beautiful. So this will be being mailed out to you. It is our...
Somebody said when I couldn't get my hair cut because of lockdown, "Why don't you wear a tiara?" Well, that's like a tiara. I wear it on my hair.
So you just share anything that you want now, and then we'll open it up and we'll let people share, because we are just here to celebrate you and your life's work.
So do you want me to talk now or when?
Yes, Yes,
Well,
go ahead and talk,
but I'm
Margaret.
talking to everybody. I
You're
feel
talking to everybody. And let me just say, if there's anyone on this call, if you'll put your name and your email in the chat, that way we'll be able to send you this video. We'll be able to send you some photos and give you some information about MWC and just this Legacy Award. And we just want to be able to communicate with everyone because Margaret invited people, we invited people, and we're just so honored to have everyone here for you, Margaret. I just want to let you speak now and spotlight. I'm going to spotlight you for everyone. You're beautiful.
well, not beautiful. I always say somebody needs their eyes tested, so don't look too hard. But I am so humbled. I can't believe it that you're all giving me this extraordinary tribute, because the people who really have to be honored here, I'm simply a conduit pipe, are those incredible widows that I've met all over the world, some of them living in countries where their lives are absolutely appalling, because they're living in countries, in cultures where widows have no rights at all. They're treated like chattels. They are unable to access inheritance when their husbands die. They are subject to the most appalling, harmful traditional practices. They can be inherited by their husband's brother. They can't own land. They're the poorest of the poor. And it's extraordinary, wonderful, Carolyn, to be talking to you this very week, because it's also the 20th anniversary of Security Council Resolution 1325, which has a whole lot of other resolutions. I think there are another 9 about women, peace and security, saying that it is vital that women's voices are heard at all the peace accords. Because what does conflict do? It kills the men and boys, divides the men and boys from the women and girls, kills the men and the boys, and then often rapes the widows and the wives of the disappeared, kidnaps their children, displaces them, turns them into migrants and refugees. But never in all these resolutions of 1325 and the national action plans to implement these resolutions about women's place at peace tables, apart from, I think, Nepal, hardly any of the national action plans ever mention widows. So the widows are never at the tables. Nobody ever hears what happens to the widows. So this is a very important month, mainly because you're giving me this wonderful tribute, but also it's the 20th anniversary of 1325. It's also a very important anniversary for the UN Convention on all forms of discrimination against widows, the CEDAW. And we're still waiting for a general recommendation on that. But we're thrilled that just last week, they passed a general recommendation on trafficking and using and exploiting women and girls, trafficking for prostitution. And of course, the most vulnerable, there's a meeting, I think it's tomorrow, on women's rights in conflict and post-conflict situations. But again, nobody is mentioning the widows and the wives of the missing, the wives of the millions of men who are abducted or disappeared, and the women don't know whether they're in mass graves. They can't grieve, they can't close, their lives are in limbo. But it's no good if we don't have widows at these peace tables. And the impact of widows' poverty when they can't own land, when they're absolutely, they're in such poverty, they have nowhere to go. One of their survival strategies, inevitably, is to take their daughters out of school and give them away in marriage, but very often give them to the traffickers. So the most vulnerable women and girls, most vulnerable to trafficking, but are never even mentioned, perhaps not even in that general recommendation of CEDAW last week, are the widows. There are masses of little girls, for example, in Nepal, who are trafficked for the brothels in India. And many of them are children of the widows of the conflicts that ravaged Nepal all those years ago when that conflict was going on. And now I'm talking to you now in this horrific year of the pandemic. And COVID, of course, is killing far more men than women. So COVID, on top of the conflicts, on top of the harmful traditional practices, on top of the child marriages, which creates more child widows, we've now got more and more women who are widowed because their husbands have died of COVID. And in many of these countries, they're so locked down in the efforts that countries are doing to try and stem the infections that they're even more vulnerable to violence and poverty, because even the very limited options they had to try and survive and put food on the table through begging, through selling at the market, through working as domestic servants or agricultural laborers, that has all dried up. They're stuck. It's really worse for them. And even the remittances that many widows relied on when maybe their older sons had gone away to other countries to send them back money that they earned, these people have lost their jobs because of the pandemic. And so the remittances have dried up. And then we have huge numbers of widows and wives of the missing and their daughters who are in refugee camps. There's a special widows camp in Cox's Bazar for the Rohingya widows. Al-Hol camp in northeast Syria is full of widows. Among the Yazidis, there are so many widows. I don't understand why the international community has not really picked up on this most neglected of all gender and human rights issues. Because by not addressing widows, and I don't ever want to see widows seen exclusively as poor, vulnerable, and needy, I want to see them recognized for their extraordinary economic and social roles, not just as sole carers of children. They're often looking after the elderly, other orphans, people who've been wounded in the war. And they're also trying to earn a living. They're trying to grow food. They've got no food security because they've got no land. And so I say to everybody, I try to tell the UN and UN Women and the CEDAW and the Human Rights Council that we really now do need to have a UN special rapporteur on widows. We need a Human Rights Council resolution on widows, because widowhood is now a root cause of increasing the poverty and inequality down across the generations, because there are all these children who are taken out of school. Of course, it's the daughters who come out first and are given away to older men or given to the traffickers in temporary marriages. But also the boys are taken out of school. Many of them are in the madrasas. And then they're very vulnerable to be recruited as boy soldiers in child labor, or even because they've got no qualifications in crime, even recruited into terrorism. And I'm also terribly concerned about the numbers of unaccompanied child migrants scattered all over Europe, in the Greek islands, in Calais, or stuck here waiting for homes, stuck in Dover because they've somehow survived the crossing across the Channel. Because many of these children who've come alone are the children of widows, and they've sent their sons away, hopefully that they will get an education, that they will find safety. So I've also got another project as well as my widow one. I want to see all over Europe and in my country, older women, older households becoming proxy grandparents for these unaccompanied child migrants who are often the sons of widows, so that we don't even want to see older people demonized with nothing to do, because we've all got resources and time and spare rooms. We could do all of this. It would actually help the widows here to be recognized for their experience and their commitment to help these children. But I really I shouldn't be getting this trophy. It's all the widows in all these countries who've helped me so much. My wonderful friend Lily Thapa from Nepal, Ellen and Wadinobi in Nairobi, Mira Khanna, Ferdous Aga Begum in Bangladesh, Jane Opalot in Uganda. I mean, they're on and on and on. I'm not mentioning, there's so many names I could mention. And I want to tell you that there's something terribly exciting that's happening right now. I've got a wonderful consultant at WPD, Alice Lees, and she has put together, working, 25 hours a day or more. She's put together, helped by all our partners, the most amazing dossier, actually citing actual cases, dates and names of all the acts of discrimination and violence against widows perpetrated by state and non-state actors, often by the families. And that's going to go to CEDAW very shortly. It's the most incredible document, and it should be a wake-up call for the UN, for the Security Council, for UN Women, for CEDAW and the Human Rights Council, and all the governments everywhere to really put their skates on and lift this blanket of invisibility. It's absolutely outrageous. Since we started had our first international workshop in Beijing 25 years ago, and that still we don't get widows mentioned barely in any of the international documents or the agreed conclusions that come out of the Commission on the Status of Women. So we really so grateful to the Modern Widows Club for picking this up and seeing this is a really issue for all the countries. I've talked particularly about widows in developing and fragile and conflict-afflicted countries, but in our own countries, in the UK here, widows also have issues for their rights, and particularly widows who are members of minority communities who come from cultures where widows have very low status. We don't really looking at what happens to them. And then we have huge problems because of our austerity cuts about widows in great poverty, particularly older widows, widows who are living in care homes, widows who are being abused often because of their poverty and their isolation. And also we have to think about widows who are wives or who are asylum seekers, and they're not being properly treated even by our own administration here. There are lots and lots of widows who have come to this country and they claim asylum because they're escaping forced inheritance by their husband's brother, or they're claiming asylum because they're trying to escape from these horrible mourning and burial rites, which they might have to have sex with in order to be ritually cleansed. They're terrible. They could be stoned as witches, and they come to our countries claiming asylum, and they're often not believed and deported and sent back. And that is really, well, I could name some of these countries where this happens. And when they come back having claimed asylum, they, I'm afraid, encounter even more violence. So I'm going to stop now because I think I talk far too much, but I'm just so absolutely thrilled and excited by your election and the new administration that you will have in January of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I'm thrilled that Kamala Harris, with her Indian background and her real, as a lawyer, also her commitment to human rights, that maybe we would be able to send, with your help, the dossier on discrimination to her and get her to help to take this up by the new administration and also at the Security Council. It would be absolutely wonderful to have Kamala Harris on our side. And also, I think you're going to have a wonderful new First Lady in Jill Biden, who is an educationalist and will be surely concerned about how the discrimination and poverty of widowhood takes so many girls out of school. I'll stop here. thank you so, so much. I think I talk too much, but there's so much to say. I'm absolutely overwhelmed by your generosity and your kindness, and really glad to work with the Modern Widows Club. And I think that the person who put us together is one of the most wonderful widows in the world, is Roseline Orwa of the Rona Foundation in Kenya, who was the first woman to really speak out about harmful traditional practices. But because under the Trump administration, so many people were refused visas, she couldn't come to New York, but we were able to make a video interview with her, and we've showed it in New York at the CSW. We've showed it at the European Parliament, where Julie Ward, I think she's watching you, was a former MEP who hosted a meeting at the European Parliament on widows, and we've showed it in Geneva as well at the CEDAW. So thank you, Rona, for putting me in touch with the wonderful Modern Widows Club. Thank you.
Roseline, why don't you say a few words?
Wow, wow. It's an amazing day for me because it's an amazing day for me. I had dreamt for many years the day I read Margaret, then I met her, then I was blown away. I was blown away. The wealth of knowledge, the hard work, the understanding the nitty-gritties of widowhood, both at a local level and international level, was amazing and outstanding to me. And I longed for a day that I would connect Caroline, that had been my mentor for over 7 years, to Margaret. And now today that has happened. I honor you. I celebrate you. You are both world-changing leaders, Caroline and Margaret, and we are walking in your footsteps. Our commitment, we are resolved as a personal cause of purpose to take it further than you took it. And we are pushing on. And with your support, guidance, and also resources available in your countries, we hope that this will change for widows of all ages globally. So thank you. I celebrate and honor you, Margaret. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I love you, Rona. You're so brave. I admire you. Wonderful to see you here. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to just say a few, Roseline, it's interesting because I met Roseline on Facebook like 7 years ago. We finally met in person last year. So it went from this computer in the US to this computer in Africa to this computer in the UK. And that's how we get things done around here. That's how we create change. And when I first found out about you, Margaret, honestly, I was just like, I don't feel like I have even a place to speak. But then I realized that, in the US, yes, we do have a new administration. Yes, we are going to march on DC this year. Yes, we are going to get Biden and Kamala Harris's attention. We are already working on that now. We're excited. We're preparing, lots of things in 2021. And all of that is because the passion that you have had to really go into women's, to CEDAW and all of these places that, to be quite honest with you, I didn't know. I came from an interior design background. I became widowed 20 years ago. I didn't know Modern Widows Club was going to become this developed country of truly warrior widows who all want to become widow advocates. And so when we found you, we went, wow, look what she is doing. And we want to support you. We want to share your mission with the 40,000 widows that we have in our community now. And we want to grow, and we want more widows around the world to know about what we're doing and to create a real advocacy avenue. The more women we have, the bigger voice we have. And that's really what has to happen. But without your lifelong work and care for really pushing the topic of widowhood to the forefront, we're going to be right there with you, girl. We're going to be right there pushing it. They won't be able to refuse tens of thousands of women's voices. if they show up.
Just respond quickly. What is really vital is that widows should be participating in all their relevant decision-making committees. And it was very moving that in Nepal, following the peace accords and the end of the conflict, they got 41 people into parliament and 11 of those were widows. And what we really need to do, because it's the widows themselves whose voices must be heard. And we've got to support in all those countries where there are great problems about the rights of widows. We've got to be able to support widows to band together, to have a collective voice where they can collectively act decision-making, talk to their governments, talk to their local councils, fill the gap in data. Many countries don't even know how many widows they've got. Support widows so that they can bring together, have their own organizations and have a voice, whether it's about peace accords, law reform, their rights. And we actually want to find a time when it's actually when governments will criminalize. Some of the countries have done it. Kenya, Malawi, Tanzania, criminalize anybody who actually takes away widows' rights or is an agent in actually subjecting them to these harmful traditional practices. And but it really has to come down to hearing their voices. And I hope that the Security Council, we talk to them every month, we get these promises, we've got to keep pushing. And I'm very grateful to Heather Leather Ibrahim of Global Fund for Widows, who's a great voice at the Security Council. And we're trying to get them to give us an area meeting and for them to do another resolution on 1325, which will actually demand that governments hear the voices of widows whenever they come together to make peace. And we know that there'll be no sustainable peace in any country if they don't address widows. There'll be no achievement of the social development goals, no end to poverty and hunger and migration and violence, unless they look at this issue in all its cross-cutting various ways. Again, it's just wonderful to see Rona. Lovely to see you again. And I'm so grateful. And I'm thrilled that Julie Ward I think she is watching this as well. And she was a brilliant member of the European Parliament. I wish she was still there. And maybe you could ask Caroline, maybe she might say something, because she's talking, I think tomorrow on a meeting about women's rights in conflict. And we hope that she will be talking about widows, but she is here and you might ask her to speak. Thank you.
Yes, Julie, do please.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything prepared, but it was very important for me to be here. You know, I woke up this morning and I thought that the event was going to be 10 o'clock GMT, UK time. And Margaret had sent me a message like just after midnight last night and I hadn't read it. And in fact, we're all feeling a bit sad and upset and we can't be with each other. And so I sent Margaret a message saying, put your face on, get dressed up, see you at 10 o'clock. So I've already had quite a strange day preparing for this moment. And it's such a privilege to be with all of you. I don't know many of you, I'm getting to know you. I'm getting to know, for example, Lesley and Alice, and Margaret is the connector, isn't she? She's the bridge between all of us, and her courage and honesty and strength is just so inspirational. Like none of us can take our foot off the pedal. You know, we have to keep on with this because Margaret has shown the way. I just tell you another kind of funny story in that I was invited to lead a peace mission to northern Syria about 2 years ago. And of course, anybody considering going to Syria would be a bit afraid. And I'd said to the organizers, oh, I'm not sure about that. You know, it's not very safe, is it? And they said to me, well, Margaret Owen's been. And I went, right. If Margaret's been, then I shall have to go. And we've shared some very funny stories about our work together, about our travels and the things that are happening. And I think we have to find ways that you know, that still enable us to be human in this struggle right now, because it's very inhuman what is happening. I mean, Margaret mentioned, you know, I was an MEP, and Brexit is a complete and utter tragedy for the UK, and has removed a level of advocacy that was very, very powerful. So voices like mine, but not just mine, Linda McCavan, who is also a fantastic British member of the European Parliament and chair of the International Development Committee. There have been many extraordinary British voices speaking about human rights issues at European level. And it is quite difficult to, you know, keep up our kind of positivity in this difficult time. So in fact, your award today it's come at a very, very important time, I think, for many of us in the UK, to know that we are still part of a really important, crucial, ongoing struggle that that we must, I mean, we cannot let go. We have to continue, and we have to keep doing this, because partly because of Margaret, a lot of it is because of Margaret, but it's also because of the women. And when you meet the women who have suffered, I worked and advocated for widows in Kosovo to get their financial compensation payments, and they did. And I know that Lesley's nodding, and Lesley's part of that struggle too. And every woman, every person that has added their voice to this struggle has made a difference. But we're not there yet, and we must always remember, you know, Margaret has led, and we will walk in her steps, holding her hands and eating her wonderful homemade jam. It's good to be here.
Why don't we have Lesley say something next? Oh, thank you so much, Julie.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this. You said we could say something personal if we wanted to. And I was thinking back, the first time I came across the issues to do with any widows in Britain was nearly 40 years ago, when I can't remember her name, but I think it was Iris somebody, contacted me. I had just stood for Parliament, and she said she wanted permission for the widows in Britain to be allowed to march to the cenotaph on Remembrance Sunday. Last weekend was Remembrance Sunday. I think in the States you call it Veterans Day. Believe it or not, war widows were not allowed to march on Remembrance Sunday to the war, to the monument, to cenotaph. And she had this great campaign going, and she eventually won the argument, and now the widows are included every year, of course. I knew nothing about widows. Few years later, met Margaret, and Margaret had just brought out a book, I think a couple of years before. Was it, Margaret, when you wrote your book?
Yes, that's right, 1997.
That's right. So it was a few years later. And I'd been working on, you know, international development issues for women and women's rights, and I had no idea of the problems that women faced around the world until Margaret talked to me, and she told me, and I read her book. And I didn't know, Margaret, if you realize how much you sort of inspired me to think right. And I've had the privilege of being at many meetings with Margaret since, meeting her often. But one of the things she does, which is so clever, and I think you saw it in her speech just now, which I thought was absolutely jaw-dropping, wonderful, absolute vintage Margaret Owen. She mixes good, hard information, fact, with heart and soul. And Caroline, I didn't know about your group till today, or till the email came yesterday or day before. And I congratulate you what you've been doing. And you mentioned a quote, and you said about somebody had mentioned the soul. And then you showed us that pretty brooch that Margaret will be wearing, I hope, at our next Zoom meeting, Margaret. I'll check you out when you wear it. And what was good about it is it was heart, because the thing I was going to say was Margaret is heart and soul. And I think this is the heart and soul combined with the absolute knowledge and information. I also admired the fact, and I was very happy to hear Julie Ward, who was in the European Parliament, and I agree with everything she said about the tragedy that's hit British politics recently on losing our membership of Europe. But I think the fact that Margaret has learned how to use the system, Europe, America, ARIA, she's always in, had the privilege being with her and Annettelawson, who I hope will say a few words after as well, in some Zoom meetings recently, working on women, peace and security. And what Margaret has done is she brainwashed us in a very clever way. I never now look at anything that's a proposal about gender and women's equality, anything like that for development countries without hearing Margaret saying, so where are the widows in this? And yesterday, by chance, I was looking at something on Afghanistan, a proposal somebody's got on gender equality and things. I thought, oh my God, widows. I'll never look Margaret in the eye if it's not something here. And but that's it. That's how you cause deeds, not words. The good old suffragette slogan from Britain. So many congratulations. And Caroline, I mean, you know, but perhaps not enough people know, but the one person that most deserve to be recognized in this world is Margaret Owen. And Margaret, your lockdown locks are far better than most of our lockdown locks you said about your hair. So let me finish on that note.
Oh, thank you, Lesley. Thank you.
Thank you, Lesley. There's a few other people. Susan said she would love to speak. Who else would love to speak? Let me find Susan.
Is Annette there?
Here I am. Oh, Margaret, I'm so excited. This was such a wonderful event, and your speech, just super. Anyway, I do have I tested positive for COVID, so I'm not sure I'm going to be totally coherent. I don't know how I got it, but anyway. So first, congratulations. And I love the introduction that you gave, yes, and then Margaret's speech. But Margaret's always wonderful. I think in many ways, she's been my courage teacher because she's so smart and she's so persistent and courageous, afraid of nothing, it seems to me. I've learned a lot from her. Anyway, so much praise to you, Margaret. But I want to say that I'm the recent WPD Widows for Peace Through Democracy UN rep. Now, I haven't done enough, but I do want to say two things. One is the dossier that Alice Lees did is, maybe Alice will say something, is superb. It will be on our website. It may be there now, I'm not quite sure. But it will give you 20 cases from 15 countries from widows based in human rights, and you will learn more about widows globally, and it will make you want to get even more involved. So that's number one. Number two is I'm past chair of NGO CSW, which is the Committee on the Status of Women at the UN. Now, we're going to have our events on March 15th through the 8th, I think. And there's parallel events that anyone can apply for. You can find the application NGO CSW New York. And if you Google that, you can find it. But what is so exciting is when I got the application yesterday, there was a category that said widows. Yes. We had all these categories and there was widows. So we were widows, people wanting to do programs, parallel events, what we call them, on widows from all over the world. And that's one way we can get together and organize and build to be stronger. I know Yvonne works with me. I don't know if she's still on. But anyway, she might say something too. And Alice, you should get Alice to speak. She's incredible. Anyway, congratulations, Margaret. I'm an admirer. What can I say?
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. I know Gina wrote that down, so we will be looking that up. Alice, I'm going to put a spotlight on you so you can say a few words.
Get this Alice or
Which
Alice?
Alice? We have two Alices here. Here you are. There you are. Yes.
Hi there. I just wanted to say an enormous congratulations to Margaret. She's been such an enormous inspiration. My first experience of working on the issues of widows was with Margaret. And she's been such a fantastic connector, connecting me with widows organisations pretty much globally. And it's been such a privilege to work with her on the dossier, which, as Susan mentioned, is a detailed dossier, and it a worldwide sort of coverage of the discriminatory treatment of widows and wives of the missing or half widows, and it contains material evidence of the discriminatory treatment of widows and half widows in 20 countries. And it's hoped that it will be a resource for experts in the field, for NGOs, for state actors. And as Susan mentioned, we've submitted the dossier to CEDAW. And we've made recommendations for CEDAW to promote and protect widows' rights globally. Yeah, and I think Margaret and Susan have really said it all. So thank you so much for speaking so highly of the document.
Yes, we look forward to seeing that. I'm trying to look and see. Thank you. I look forward to talking to you more, Alice.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to see where everybody is. Let me go up here to the view for gallery. Annette wanted to say something.
Oh, Caroline Finkel wants to talk as well. Caroline Finkel, who's funded our dossier.
Okay, well, let's have her. Caroline, I'm going to spotlight you for everyone.
Before Annette. Sorry, Annette. Well, it was just a sort of marriage made in heaven. Margaret, I met Margaret through something quite different, through her work with Kurds, because I've lived in Turkey for many, many years. And somehow we were introduced by a common friend who I think may be here, and to who I owe a lot on account of this meeting Margaret and my life changing in many ways. And then it turned out that she was working on widows, and that basically her pension was going towards funding this organization that was pretty sort of ropey. I mean, she was doing it herself and doing an amazing amount, completely on a shoestring. So certainly there are two of us. I don't know how many more funders there are, but happily Alice popped up, and the result, we were there when able to fund this dossier, which is like a sort of gold dust and the culmination up to this point in sort of organizational terms of the work that Margaret's been doing. And we have great hopes for it, that it'll reach the right places in the international fora. And then you came along, you Modern Widows, and this looks like another sort of the potential to be another leap forward for this organization. We're happy to keep funding for longer. We can't lose Alice. I mean, we've reached a certain point and we can't let it go now. It would just be a tragedy. So we're behind this in a little way, and I'm very privileged to have been able to be here, to have helped a bit and to be here with you all now.
We're so honored to have you. Yes, everybody put your hands up. Hands up.
Thank you so much.
Like Heather always says, she who has the gold wins. Let's raise more gold for widows. Who wants to speak next? I'm trying to, Heather, Annette. Let's go up to Annette, and then Heather will, there we go.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here, and I'm so enthused by everybody's enthusiasm. When somebody, I think it was Margaret, said, do ask Annette to say something, and I am very happy to say something. He never stops, Margaret. I know that I'm also somebody who works, I don't know, at 1, 2, 3 in the morning sending out emails, but Margaret never stops on her constant campaigning. It is her life. It's absolutely her life. I mean, it's lovely to see Dano in here, because that reminds us that she does actually also have a family. And sometimes we're not quite sure that she does, because she's so involved in making life better for everyone else around the world. But I kind of work in a very different way. I'm passionate about mechanisms, methods. How do we change? What do we need to do? What kind of institutions must we have? What kind of conventions? What kind of laws? What kind of people in what kinds of places to actually make the changes that somebody like Margaret is so good at calling for? So the one thing that I've probably been able to do with her and for her is focus on, there's one aspect of data collection. So at every commission on the status of women that we both have been to for donkey's years together, at every other possible local UK government meeting where there's any discussion, of course, there's always a discussion about the fact that you can't do anything if you don't have the data. If you don't know how many widows there are around, if you don't know how many of those widows are actually in dire straits, if you don't know what effect this is having and can enumerate it on the number of, say, early child marriages, or sorry, child marriage, it's early, but forced marriages as well, on FGM, on all the other things that happen more to girls who are the daughters of widows, such as being taken out of school when they can't afford to send all their children out of school, children to school, so the boys will probably be kept in and the girls back when the girls are married off early because the widows can't afford to feed them. And just the other aspect, which we don't often talk about, is the impact on widows of the loss of the husband, in terms of perhaps losing any bit of land they might have farmed, or any house that they had, or any pots and pans to make food. It goes from a lot of things at great value to less. And what Margaret's work does is fire everyone else with enthusiasm. And in the background, what I'm saying at every meeting is, excuse me, marital status. Excuse me, we need to collect data on marital status. Excuse me, why haven't you put in marital status? Because without that, we can't actually measure widowhood. We can't measure heads of households. We can't measure those who are divorced. We can't measure multiple marriages. We can't measure early marriage. And as she always says, widowhood is also the driver of other problems, such as child poverty and early marriage. So I think there are many ways in which we women can work together, and there's enough work to go around, for heaven's sake. And it's important that we become reasonably expert in the things that we can do, which are most supportive to others. So I think this is a hugely well-deserved award, an enormously well-deserved award. And we all know that nothing is going to stop Margaret in her tracks, but we all need recognition. We all need the kind of thing happening to us that will inspire her to continue. I know that it will. So congratulations and thank you to the Modern Widows Club. I think that's wonderful. You sound a bit like somebody's book, you know, the Modern Widows Club. Isn't there a book like that? Or the modern, I don't know. But if there isn't, there should be. So thank you. And thank you for inviting me too.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Let me find Heather, and I'm gonna let her speak.
To talk too.
Okay. Hello, Heather.
Hi. Thank you so much for this award, Carolyn. This is just wonderful for Margaret, and no one is more deserving. Congratulations, Margie. You really, really deserve this. I can tell you, we started the Global Fund for Widows 12 years ago, not knowing anything about widowhood, with just the intention of doing really great work to help some widows, grandmas in Egypt. And then the next thing we knew, started our research, we found that this was a massive global, human rights violation that was really not understood and not acknowledged by the world. And we started doing our work independently here, working in parallel with Margaret. And it wasn't until almost 6 years later that we discovered each other. We are just absolutely thrilled to have the opportunity to hold hands and advocate together in the halls of the UN. We've been everywhere from the Human Rights Council together to online at the Security Council together to the Commission on the Status of Women together. And it won't stop. We will continue until we have all documents and resolutions that need to protect widows on board. But I have to say that Margie has served as my mentor through this whole entire journey. I can tell you now that she has been an inspiration of knowledge and of guidance, just a wealth of information, and she's helped us so much. And I can share with you some great milestones of achievement that we've been able to accomplish, like getting widows into the last 2 CSW documents. Together, we advocated for that through our country partnerships. We have been able to change laws now in over 5 or 6 countries, starting with Egypt and moving all the way. I think we just changed 6 laws in Kenya. We're now partners with the Kenyan government. And a lot of that is just through the great advice of Margie and the inspiration. So I wanted to thank you for that. Over COVID, we pivoted from building banks. What Global Fund for Widows does is build banks. So all of our groups all work towards widowhood issues, but everyone does it in their own specific niche. Our niche is economic empowerment, and so we focus on building banks for widows. We now have 50 banks across the world with another 500 on the wait list, and we're working to address those needs. But as we continue to address the issues that Margaret pointed out during COVID, starvation, all of the other issues that affect widows, the remittances, all of these issues, we're working to feed widows. And so we've fed about 5.5 million widows across India and Africa over the course of COVID so far. And we're just continuing to do whatever it needs to be. And so we're happy to hold hands with you, Margaret. We're proud of our inspiration. And yes, the dossier, I've already spoken to Carolyn about it. It's phenomenal. We're working with Susan and Alice. We're looking forward to taking that dossier. And we've already committed, and our 40,000 widows through Modern Widows Club have committed to put that dossier in front of every Congress member in the United States as soon as it's available. And so we spent the first 2 months of this year before COVID working to advocate for widows here in US Congress for the international side. And then we partnered with Carolyn for the domestic side. But we have bipartisan support here in the United States to address the issue of widowhood globally. And that's very, very exciting. And we're looking forward to taking that dossier and tipping it over the edge. So thank you for all the work that you've done, Margaret, and for Alice for your work and the inspiration of all the leaders, especially the House of Lords, who inspired us to go to our Congress and make some change. So thank you for that. And we look forward to many more years. And I can only say one thing in closing: God help the person who ever tries to stand in Margaret Owen's way.
Okay, I'm looking for, thank you, Heather. I'm looking for Dan. Dan, you're about to be spotlighted. He has to go, but we're going to let Dan say a few things. Your son.
All right, thank you very much, Karen. And it's really lovely hearing all the tributes. Just to say the obvious, which is that your family are enormously proud, and certainly in my work in development, not a day goes by where I don't ask the same questions as others have mentioned here in looking at documents, reports, etc., etc. So your influence is very much felt at home as well as in the towers and where it's needed in policy. But I think it is just the most extraordinary commitment and passion, and hats off. I love the sitting back and as an observer and listening to this. What can I say? Well done, and thank you so much to the Modern Widows Club for extending the invitation. Very much enjoyed it, and sorry, I have to run to another meeting.
Thank you so much, Dan. I so appreciate you waiting for that. Well, like I always say, there's a special place in heaven for Margaret for all her work that she has done. I know there's other people who want to speak, so if you'll just raise your hand, and I can see you. I think I found everybody in the chat. Anyone else want to speak? Say some words.
Pat Holden, or is Anne Robin here?
Barbara Cleary should say a few words, I think. Is she Barbara? Barbara Cleary? I thought I saw her name.
Barbara here?
She was there.
Barbara Cleary, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw her name.
Barbara, I don't see Barbara, but Lauren, did you want to say something? Did you have your hand up? And then Margaret, you had your hand up? Hold on. Margaret, Lauren and Margaret.
Sorry. I just wanted to say that not only am I a family member, but I also worked with Margaret in 2009 and 10. And Margaret was just as fabulous then as she is now, and things have progressed even further, but she was so involved then as well as now, and all of the events that she put together at all of the women's, the IW International Women's Day, Women's Week, all of those events were beautiful, and the book that she wrote, and anyway, just so many times she really spoke about what was happening for widows in so many areas, and that was in a middle period for her, not the beginning, not now, but in the middle. She was just as great. So
thank you, Lauren.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lauren, very, very much.
Let me find, was Barbara there?
Yes, Barbara's here.
Okay.
I was so sorry because I was unmuted. I was muted and had my video off because I wasn't expecting to be invited to speak. So sorry about that. Anyway, lovely Margaret. It's so good to be here and to listen to all these lovely people saying all these really, really, really lovely things about you, and you deserve all of them. You are an absolutely amazing person. You're great fun to work with. And I'm looking forward to us continuing our work on another matter as we go forward with women, peace and security. But it's, as I say, congratulations, you deserve it. And as it's lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And then we have Martha. I saw Martha is one of the original members of MWC. You wanted to speak, Martha?
I just wanted to say that I am grateful for the shoulders that all of you ladies, you're probably 10 years ahead of me. I am 14 years into my widow's journey. I met Carolyn in year 5 when I was still falling apart, and she lifted me up. I was the 4th member of Modern Widows Club. I am so grateful to be among the ranks of the 40,000 women who we work to serve. I feel so small and so humbled by having learned of the work that you ladies have recognized was necessary. You are providing the foundation of shoulders for those of us who come behind you to work to understand the depth of this whole situation that women and widows are just left in such a state and need to be able to care for their children, who then are going to make a change in the world. I am so grateful to Carolyn for having brought the attention to this whole situation for our group. And Margaret, you're astounding. I am so blessed to know that you are out there advocating for all of us and making people aware and then doing something about it. You're amazing, you're incredible, and so worthy of this recognition and award. I send you love. Roseline is another example of a young woman who is carrying on the work. I loved the comment, the doing the work instead of just paying lip service. It's breathtaking. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Well done. Thank you. Lovely to meet you. Lovely.
Same
you.
here,
Thank
and
you,
hopefully
Martha.
we'll all get to meet each other at some point.
Yvonne, you have been requested to speak, and I'm trying to find you. If you'll raise your hand, if I can. Oh, there you are. See, that helps so much. There you go. Thank you.
Hi, hi everyone.
Oh,
Margaret. Hi, Margaret.
Oh, you're lovely. Hello, hello. I love your recipes. You're a great cook as well.
Margaret is a dear friend of little over 2 years when I met her in 2018 when she was at the UN Commission on the Status of Women, and there was a dinner held in her honor, and I was invited. And we've become dear friends since that. As a matter of fact, a year ago today, this morning, I would have arrived in London, and at this time, I would have been at Margaret's home because she hosted me while I was in London. And so I'm so proud of her. I love her dearly. And if I could describe myself in relationship to Margaret, I would say that I'm her cheerleader. And anytime, Margaret wants to talk about anything, when she gets discouraged, she can always count on me, and I will always be there to say, Margaret, you must go on, you must continue. And I am so happy that she invited me to be a part of this today, because I wouldn't want to miss this. She is such a wonderful, wonderful person. And in terms of widowhood, she reminds me a lot of my great-grandmother, who became a widow at the age, I think, of maybe 30, 31. and was a great inspiration to me as a person. And some of the work that I do in women's empowerment, I got that from my great-grandmother, who, believe it or not, when I was a little girl, she gifted me with a flock of goats. And so I became independently wealthy. I could take care of all my needs from the income that I got from those goats. So you can imagine how much my great-grandmother meant to me. So I am so happy to be here. And as Susan mentioned, I work with Susan and the executive committee of NGOCSW. And yet just yesterday, information about the parallel events went out. And so we are hopeful that many of you with your various organizations will want to have parallel events and have lots of events around widowhood, which is a very important topic. And it was from Margaret that I learned what a half widow is. And a lot of times, and that concept comes up, a lot of people have no idea what it is. So I have learned so much from Margaret. And Margaret, I want to thank you and I want to congratulate you for this. And I want to thank the Modern Widows Club for really recognizing Margaret, because it is well deserved. And so thank you all.
Thank you, lovely. What a lovely thing. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you. You're beautiful. Thank you.
I'm just loving this. You know, I think widows and widows organizations and widow advocates get so little recognition that we all needed this day. Don't you agree? Who else would like to speak? We're about at an hour and 15. I just want to make sure, I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. If you raise your hand. Oh, Cindy would like to speak. Hold 1 second. Cindy, there you are.
I just want to say how honored I am to be here in this moment with you. I met Carolyn in 2012, just 6 months, but found her 3 weeks after my husband died. And really just feel like my whole life was, the trajectory of my life was changed because of her individual mentoring and because of Modern Widows Club. And through Modern Widows Club, then I met Roseline. And so that was another life-changing event when I was able to go with my now husband to Kenya and meet her in person. And we've just become almost, well, we are family with each other. And then for her to connect me with Margaret is just, it's beyond my comprehension of being able to be in the company of these world-changing leaders for widows. And so congratulations, Margaret. I hope that we meet in person someday.
Oh, that's so lovely. Thank you so much. What a band we all are. How strong women all are all over the world when we come together. And we must never forget that. There are more women in the world than there are men. And we can all work together, whatever the horrible patriarchal authoritarian politicians that are somehow.
Tell us how you really feel, Margaret.
We will beat them. We women working together will actually the ones that will bring together a society based on equality, peace, justice, and freedom. We can do it. We are so strong when we band together. And I just love listening to you all. You're all quite incredible, wonderful women. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. If there anyone else who wants to speak, we want to give you the opportunity, but I want to thank everyone for being on the call. And of course, Margaret, you're just, honestly, we're following your path, right? Like when I first met you, I said, I'm here to continue your work. I'm 57, so I've got, I don't know, 50 more years or something. So I'm dedicated to it. And I know everyone else here is here. And So are a lot of other women that aren't on this call. Advocacy is a big part of what we do at our events. We always have people come and speak about advocacy, because at Modern Widows Club, we are here to serve women in widowhood, to lean into life, to build resilience, and to make a positive difference in the world. And that last part of that statement is about advocacy. And so this army of warrior widows is only getting larger. We're going to find them all over the world, and we're going to bring them together, and we're going to have one voice, and we're going to insist on what is right.
Hooray, hooray. Wonderful, wonderful.
So yes, we're here with you. So as we're all in our own little spheres, let's not forget this moment. Gina's taking photos, and so I'd like to get a picture of us with our W's up. And Gina can take a photo, but get your W's up. This is what we do. This is our, get your 3 fingers up. We're for widows. Yeah, Gina.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Margaret, be looking for a package in the mail. We're going to send it FedEx because you told me the post office isn't delivering, but your award and your beautiful pen are coming.
Oh, that is so lovely. I really don't deserve it. Thank you. Honestly, you've been absolutely wonderful, all of you. And I'm so thrilled to see all my friends here. It's lovely, and to meet new people and meet the wonderful Modern Widows Club. Absolutely brilliant. It makes me realize that until we had the Women's National Commission, which was closed down in 2010, we were about to set up something in this country. Because when I talked about the widows here, you think about the widows, all the military widows, women whose men died in Afghanistan and Iraq, often after long illnesses when they came home. I mean, there's so much that's going on in this country. Although I've always, in our organization, we've focused on developing countries, we mustn't. It's actually global. There are all sorts of things that happen in developed countries as well, where widows are often isolated. I always think of Amartya Sen, the wonderful Indian economist. He used to be he used to be Master of Trinity in Cambridge. And he always talked about non-income poverty. And he wrote a wonderful whole chapter about widows in India. And he talked about the non-income poverty, which is the poverty of isolation, disrespect, loneliness. That's also a poverty. And there are just so many widows who, in every country, who also suffer that sort of poverty when nobody really wants to talk to them anymore. So with Annettelawson and other people in this country, we're trying to do much more for older women. Older women harness their strengths. A lot of older women are widows. They shouldn't be demonized or seen as not worth, or just oppressed or dependent or a burden. We all, however old we are, we've all got skills and resources that can be used. So this is also something that we can do in our own countries to be sure that widows everywhere are respected and made.
Yes, Margaret, one of the things that we've done is we have created a Wise Widows Advisory Council at Modern Widows Club, and we've invited Margaret to be a part of that. We do believe that the wisdom that widows have in their beautiful wise years are valuable. They're not being utilized. Margaret, you're the example of, when I think of be a light in the world, tikkun olam, from my Jewish friends who have shared that with me about repairing the world, you literally are the essence of that word. And so I am just like, so grateful, for everything that you have done. And yes, you are right. My saying is, a formidable woman is a terrible thing to waste. And we are in a Zoom room right now with formidable women who will not be wasted, and we will be heard.
Can I just say one word of one little word. Wouldn't
Yes.
mind if Pat Holden could say something about this. But while I really am so proud of all the women of the world, and even the women who are the most illiterate women who've never had a chance to go to school are so intelligent, so resourceful, so articulate. But we also, and we must never really, we've got to dispel the myth that widows are mainly old women because we have so many child widows. But I also want to say this, and maybe Pat will say something about that for me. It's terribly important. I don't really like to call myself a feminist all the time because I really want to be able to work with men and have men on our side. I can't call myself a humanist because that's already taken up by a non-religious. That's what I am, really, a human being. I think it's very important that we actually have men understanding this issue as well, and we have men on our sides. And at the moment, in my women's piece, my WPD board, we've only got women. And my first time, when I set up my first organization after Beijing, we did have 3 men trustees. And I just think it's really, really important that also when we educate men and boys, and that we actually get into the curriculum of all our schools, wherever they are in the world, about human rights, about the issues of gender equality and women's empowerment, without which you can't have a free and democratic society. So I just wanted to say that little bit of caution. Yes, it's wonderful to have all the solidarity of women, but I do think that we need to have men on our side as well, and that men will support us, that like Lesley Abdela has been campaigning for years, that we do have 50-50, she used to say 40-40, 50-50 on all decision-making bodies, whether it's Parliament or wherever it is. And maybe Pat could say something about that, Pat Holden, who used to be the gender advisor at DFID, has just become one of our trustees. Thank you. Pat.
Thank you. Is Pat here?
Pat Holden.
Oh.
Muted, yeah. Hello? Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know, I think I've had very much. I think we all want everybody on our side if we can, but so I think it may be a long discussion. So all I would just say is congratulations to Margaret, and it's been a great pleasure to hear everything today. I've known Margaret for quite a long time, and I like to think of her as a very good friend, and we've had some really good times together. I think I don't know, it's a little known fact that she was once a distinguished actress. We love the theatre, and we go to the theatre together, and we have a lot of fun. So I really appreciate her friendship. But one thing I would say about her, which I've always admired, is that she's completely fearless, and she takes on, whether it's through her letters to the Guardian or whatever, she will take on anybody, prime ministers, presidents, whoever. So, I mean, I really do think she is quite somebody I really admire, because she is completely fearless. She will, as they say, speak truth to power. And there are very few people who are able to do that. So I just say again, congratulations, and may our friendship continue for many years.
Thank you.
Well, I guess that says it all, Margaret. I hope you are going to have an amazing week. And we will be sending you this video so that you can watch it every day for the rest of your life. Because you are so extraordinary. And I'm truly honored to represent Modern Widows Club, and to just honor your life with this. And once you get it, you're going to WhatsApp me and show me where you put it in the house, because I'm so interested in where you're going to put this beautiful award, so that you see every day how appreciated you are.
Oh, I've just seen somebody else is here who would be wonderful to speak. She's the chair of the Soroptomy. She's called Liz Dominy, and I've just seen that she's here. Ask Liz Dominy to say a word.
Here you are.
Liz Dominy.
Oh, hi, everybody. I think I'm the newest friend of Margaret. I've only known her for a few weeks, and I know her because she lives in the next little village to me in North Dorset when she comes down here in England. And she'd fallen, she'd gone blackberrying and collecting mushrooms in the woods on her own, and fallen and broken some ribs when I'd first met her. But she's just truly inspirational, Margaret. I think that all the Seroptimists are going to support you forever, because you're just so wonderful and so passionate about all that you do. So yes, so congratulations, and it's just wonderful to be here with you today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I think that's it for everyone. Thank you, Margaret. And we will get this video out to you, but I just want to say thank you to everyone. This is obviously a community of extraordinary women, but we look up to, Margaret, and it's such an honor. So
lovely to
you,
Lauren, as
everybody
well.
wave their hands. Bye.
Lovely, all of you. Thank you so much. You really made my day. I'm really excited. Thank you. Keep safe. Keep safe. We'll talk again. Bye bye.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.